Mother Teresa opposes birth control. Why? Because if there is birth control, there will be no orphans. If there are no orphans, there is no reason to give Mother Teresa a Nobel Prize. In other words, she needs poverty and abandoned children to continue, just so she can receive awards. My beloved ones, I see you here, and my heart overflows with a certain joy. Not the joy of a teacher who has found students, but the joy of a friend who has found fellow travelers. Before we dive into the depths of the hypocrisy that surrounds the world, I want to ask you a small favor. If these words resonate with your heart, if you feel a spark of rebellion waking up within you, please hit that like button and share this video with those who are still asleep. Subscribe to this channel, not to follow me, but to stay connected to the truth that we are uncovering together. Your comments are the echoes of your soul. Leave them below so we can continue this dialogue. And for those who feel a deeper call to support this work of awakening, you can use the join button to become a part of our inner circle or offer a super thanks. We also have ebooks available that dive even deeper into these mysteries. Your support helps this light reach the farthest corners of a darkened world. Now, let me tell you about the mafia of the soul. For 5,000 years, the priest and the politician have been in a conspiracy against humanity. They are partners in the same business. The politician rules the body and the priest rules the soul. And they have a very simple arrangement. You support me and I will support you. The politician protects the priest and the priest blesses the politician. Together, they keep you in a state of constant misery, because a happy man is a dangerous man. A happy man cannot be enslaved. A happy man has no need for heaven, and he has no need for the promises of the politician. In this landscape of exploitation, figures like Mother Teresa are perfect tools. To the world, she is a saint. To the Vatican, she was a supreme PR agent. To me, she was a religious merchant. You have been told that she was a mortal angel who cared for the poor. But have you ever asked why the poor exist in the first place? Have you ever asked why in a world that has the technology and the resources to feed everyone, people are still dying on the streets of Calcutta? Mother Teresa did not want to end poverty. If poverty ends, where will the saints come from? If there are no poor people to serve, how will Mother Teresa find her way to heaven? Her charity was not a way to eliminate suffering, it was a way to decorate it. It was a way to make suffering look beautiful, to give it a divine quality. She used to say that suffering is a gift from God. Can you imagine anything more monstrous? If suffering is a gift from God, then why should we try to cure diseases? Why should we try to bring science and comfort to the masses? If a child is dying of hunger and you call it a gift, you are not a saint. You are a criminal with a very sophisticated mask. But the world loves masks. The world is afraid of the naked truth. When I speak the truth, it hurts because it shatters your illusions. You have been conditioned to believe that charity is the highest virtue. I tell you, charity is a sin. Charity exists only because you have already committed a greater sin. You have created a society that is unequal, a society that is exploitative. First, you rob a man of his dignity, his resources, and his future, and then you give him a small piece of bread as charity. This bread is not for him, it is for your own ego. It is to help you sleep better at night. Mother Teresa was the ultimate representative of this ego-driven charity. She was a soul catcher for the Catholic Church. Every person she saved was another number for the Vatican. The more poor people there are, the more souls the Church can claim. This is why she was so vehemently against birth control and abortion. It wasn't about the sanctity of life, that is just a beautiful word. It was about the quantity of the flock. The more sheep you have, the more powerful the shepherd. She went around the world receiving Nobel Prizes and accolades, but she never once stood up against the causes of poverty. She never once challenged the politicians who create the wars and the economic systems that keep people in the gutters. Why would she? She was part of the same establishment. She was the soft face of a brutal system. While the politicians were dropping bombs, she was there to put a small bandage on the wound, and the world cheered. They cheered because it made them feel that someone was doing something. It allowed the exploitation to continue without a revolution. I am not interested in your charity. I am interested in your transformation. I don't want you to give a piece of bread to a hungry man. I want you to create a world where no man is hungry. But to create that world, you have to destroy the priest and the politician. You have to destroy the very foundations of your holy books and your noble traditions. These traditions are the chains that keep you bound. Mother Teresa once said that the greatest poverty is not being unwanted, but she herself was part of a system that makes people unwanted. A system that tells you that you are a sinner from birth. A system that tells you that you are not enough as you are. My message is the exact opposite. I tell you, you are perfect as you are. You are a god in disguise. You don't need a priest to reach the divine. You don't need a saint to mediate for you. You only need to wake up. As you listen to these words, feel the fire of awareness. Don't just agree with me, because agreement is just another form of sleep. Look at the facts. Look at the millions of dollars that poured into Mother Teresa's mission. Where did that money go? Did it go toward building modern hospitals? Did it go toward education? No. It went toward building convents and spreading the faith. The people in her home for the dying were not given medicine. They were given a holy death. They were told to embrace their suffering. This is the hypocrisy I want to expose. It is a very deep-seated disease in the human mind. We prefer a beautiful lie over an ugly truth. But I tell you, even an ugly truth is better than a beautiful lie, because the truth can set you free, while the lie only keeps you in a gilded cage. Before we move on to the next part of this journey, take a moment to reflect. If you feel that this truth needs to be heard, please engage with this video. Your likes, your comments, and your shares are the fuel that keeps this fire burning. And remember, if you want to support this mission of awakening more deeply, the join button and super thanks are there for you. We are not just a channel, we are a movement of the soul. Let's continue. Wait, let us go deeper into the psychology of this saintly deception. Why does the world need a Mother Teresa? The world needs her because the world is feeling guilty. The rich feel guilty for their wealth. The powerful feel guilty for their exploitation. By supporting Mother Teresa, they buy a clear conscience at a very cheap price. They give her a few $1,000s, they give her a medal, and they feel they have done their duty toward humanity. This is a transaction. It is not love. It is a business deal. Mother Teresa was a very cunning politician. She knew exactly how to play on the guilt of the Western world. She would talk about the poor of Calcutta in the luxury ballrooms of London and New York, and the people would weep and they would reach for their checkbooks. But did she ever tell them that their lifestyle, their economic systems, their corporations were the ones creating the poverty in the East? No, that would have been bad for business. She told them they were good people, forgiving. She validated their guilt and then sold them the remedy. This is what the priest has always done. First he creates the guilt, then he sells the forgiveness. It is the most successful business in history. It has no overhead, no raw materials, and a guaranteed market. The market is your fear. The market is your insecurity. Mother Teresa was just a modern salesperson for this ancient firm. I remember when she was given the Nobel Peace Prize, what peace was she bringing? Was she stopping any wars? Was she resolving any conflicts? No. She was simply managing the fallout of the system. Giving a Nobel Peace Prize to Mother Teresa is like giving a prize to a funeral director because he handles the dead so beautifully. He doesn't stop the death, he just makes the ceremony look respectable. And her stance on birth control, this is where her sanctity becomes truly dangerous. The world is suffering from a population explosion. This is the root cause of poverty, of hunger, of environmental destruction. And yet this woman and the Pope behind her continued to say that birth control is a sin. Why? Because more people means more Catholics. It is a game of numbers. They are willing to let the world starve. They are willing to let children live in the gutters just so they can claim a larger percentage of the population. This is not compassion. This is a cold, calculated political agenda. If you are truly compassionate, you will look at the cause of the problem. If a house is on fire, you don't just stand outside and pray for the people inside. You go and put out the fire. And you look for the arsonist. The arsonists are the priests and the politicians. Mother Teresa was simply there to offer a glass of water to those who managed to crawl out of the burning house, while simultaneously telling the arsonists that they were doing God's work. Listen to me carefully. The world does not need saints. The world needs intelligent, conscious human beings. A saint is a person who has become an expert in the art of the mask. They have suppressed their humanity to such an extent that they have become like statues. They are cold, they are rigid, and they are dead inside. Mother Teresa was not a woman of joy. Have you ever seen her laughing? Truly laughing from the belly? No. She was always somber, always carrying the weight of the world's sins. This is the hallmark of the ego. The ego loves to feel responsible. The ego loves to be the savior. A truly conscious man is not a savior. He is a light. He simply is. And in his presence, you find your own light. I don't want to save you. I want to wake you up so that you can see there was never anything to be saved from. You are not a poor sinner. You are a magnificent expression of existence. But the Mother Teresas of the world cannot allow you to know that. If you knew your own divinity, you would never go to a church, you would never bow down to a priest, and you would never give a single penny to charity. You would share your love, yes, but sharing is totally different from charity. Sharing comes from abundance. Charity comes from a sense of duty and guilt. When you have a flower, its fragrance shared naturally. It doesn't ask who is receiving it. It doesn't ask for a Nobel Prize. It doesn't ask to be called a saint. It simply gives because it is overflowing. I want you to become that overflowing flower. But first, you must drop the conditioning. You must see the saint for what she is, a politician in a sari. She was a woman who was obsessed with her own holiness. And that obsession is the ultimate barrier to the divine. The divine is not for the holy. The divine is for the whole. And to be whole, you must accept your light and your shadow. You must accept your humanity. If you are finding value in this deconstruction of the old world, then I invite you to join our community more formally. Use the join button on the YouTube interface to see how you can contribute to the growth of this channel. Your super thanks are a beautiful way to show that you are with me on this journey. And don't forget to check out our ebooks. They are the maps for the territory we are exploring. Let us keep moving because the truth is like an onion. We have to peel many layers before we reach the center. Think about the orphans Mother Teresa saved. Many of them were taken from their parents under the guise of helping the poor. They were then raised in an atmosphere of strict Catholic indoctrination. They were not given a choice. Their salvation was their enslavement. This is the mafia of the soul at work. They take a child's innocence and replace it with a belief system. And once you have a belief system, you are no longer a seeker, you are a follower. And a follower is just a dead person who can still walk. I want you to be seekers. I want you to be rebels. A rebel is one who says no to all the organized lies of the past. A rebel is one who refuses to be saved by anyone else. A rebel takes responsibility for his own life, his own joy, and his own suffering. Mother Teresa was the enemy of the rebel. She wanted you to be a beggar because only a beggar needs a saint. I want you to be a master because a master knows that the saint is just another beggar in a more expensive robe. As we continue, stay with me. Don't let your mind wander back to the comforts of your old beliefs. It is cold out here in the truth, but it is the only place where you can breathe. Let the warmth of our shared awareness be your fire. If you haven't yet, like this video and share it. Let's reach those who are still trapped in the saintly illusions. Your voice in the comments is important. Tell me, have you ever felt that something was off with these global icons? Let's talk about it. My beloved, let us look at the very word compassion. The word has been so misused by the priests that its original flavor is lost. For them, compassion is a downward look. You look down at someone who is less than you and you feel pity. This pity is a poison. It makes the other person feel inferior and it makes you feel superior. Mother Teresa's compassion was this kind of pity. She needed the poor to be poor so she could be the compassionate one. This is a very subtle ego trap. True compassion, which I call karuna, is an equal look. It is a sharing of your being. It is not I am helping you, it is I am being with you. In true compassion, the helper and the helped disappear. There is only a flow of love. But Mother Teresa was always the helper. She was always the giver. And through giving, she was building a massive empire of the ego. The Vatican loved it. They haven't had such a good marketing campaign in centuries. They used her to divert attention from the scandals, from the history of the Crusades, from the Inquisition. They used her to say, look, we are the religion of love. But love cannot be organized. The moment you organize love, it becomes a cult. It becomes a hierarchy. It becomes a mafia. And the politician loves this. Because as long as people are focused on charity and helping the poor, they won't ask, why is there a system that produces these poor people? The politician and the priest are like two hands of the same body. One hand steals, and the other hand gives back a tiny fraction as alms. And you are taught to be grateful to the hand that gives, while ignoring the hand that steals. I want to remind you that your participation here is vital. If you feel that these truths are shaking the foundations of your old world, then you are ready for the next step. Consider becoming a member of this channel via the join button. It is a way to ensure that this message continues to reach the global audience. Your super thanks and your purchases of our ebooks are direct investments in the consciousness of humanity. We are building a new world, one soul at a time. Now let's talk about the home for the dying in Calcutta. It has been documented by many people that the conditions there were horrific. No painkillers, no modern medicine, no hygiene. Why? Because Mother Teresa believed that the poor must suffer like Christ on the cross. She believed that suffering brings you closer to God. This is the most dangerous idea in human history. It is a glorification of masochism. If suffering is holy, then the more people suffer, the more holiness there is in the world. This is the logic of a mad woman. But because she did it in the name of Jesus, nobody dared to challenge her. If a doctor did what she did, he would be in jail for malpractice. If a scientist did it, he would be stripped of his degrees. But a saint can do it and get a Nobel Prize. Why? Because the mafia of the soul protects its own. The establishment needs these symbols of goodness to maintain the status quo. If people realize that their suffering is not a gift from God, but a result of human greed and ignorance, they would rise up. They would demand a different kind of world. They would demand science instead of superstition, and meditation instead of prayer. Meditation is the only rebellion, because meditation makes you an individual, and an individual cannot be manipulated by the crowds. An individual cannot be fooled by the saintly mask. When you are silent, when you are centered, you see things exactly as they are. You see that Mother Teresa was just a cog in a giant machine. A machine that feeds on your guilt and your fear. I am here to tell you, you don't need her. You don't need any intermediary between you and the truth. The truth is within you. It is the very pulse of your heart. It is the silence between your breaths. But to find it, you have to stop looking up at saints and down at the poor. You have to start looking in. And when you look in, you will find that you are neither a saint nor a sinner. You are simply a part of this vast, beautiful, dancing existence. You will see that poverty is an ugliness that must be removed, not a divine gift. You will see that life is to be celebrated, not to be suffered. This is my message to you. It is a message of joy, of rebellion, and of radical responsibility. Don't wait for a Mother Teresa to come and save you. Don't wait for a politician to change your life. Change your consciousness, and your life will change of its own accord. As we come to the end of this particular discourse, I want to thank you for your presence. It takes courage to listen to the truth. It takes courage to let your icons be settled. But only when the icons are settled can the real light enter. If you haven't already, please subscribe and hit the notification bell. We have much more to discuss, many more masks to peel away. Like this video, share it with your friends, and let's start a conversation in the comments. How has the glorification of suffering affected your own life? Have you ever felt guilty for being happy? Let's explore that together. And remember, you can support this channel through the join button, super thanks, and by exploring our ebooks. Every contribution helps us stay independent and keep bringing you the unfiltered truth. I love you all. Stay conscious, stay rebellious, and most importantly, stay joyful. The world is a beautiful place if only we can see it without the spectacles provided by the priests and the politicians. Until next time, my friends, be a light unto yourself. Look at the mechanics of this so-called charity. It is a psychological trap designed to keep the status quo. If you look at the history of the Catholic Church, you will see a consistent pattern. They flourish where there is misery. They are like vultures. They need a corpse to feed on. Mother Teresa was the most successful vulture of them all because she wore the most beautiful feathers. She talked about the dying with dignity. But what dignity is there in dying on a cold floor without even an aspirin to dull the pain? The dignity she spoke of was the dignity of the slave who accepts his fate without a murmur. The Vatican has billions of dollars. They have enough gold to feed the entire world for years, but they will not spend it on hospitals or schools that teach independence. They will only spend it on charity that creates dependence. When you give a man bread in the name of Jesus, you are not feeding his stomach, you are poisoning his mind. You are telling him that his hunger is a spiritual opportunity. You are telling him that his poverty is a blessing. And once he believes that, he will never fight for his rights. He will never seek to change the society that keeps him hungry. He will simply wait for the saint to come and give him the next scrap. This is the most sophisticated form of political control ever invented. The politician uses the police and the army to keep you in line, but the priest uses your own conscience. The priest uses saints like Mother Teresa to make you feel that if you rebel against poverty, you are rebelling against God. Can you see the conspiracy? It is so clear, and yet billions are blinded by it. They see the small, frail woman in the white and blue sari, and they see goodness. I see a massive wall built to protect the rich and the powerful from the anger of the poor. And if you feel this wall beginning to crumble within you, then my work is being done. This is why I am here. To shake you, to wake you from the long sleep of centuries. If you find these insights valuable, if they help you see the world through a clearer lens, please show your support. Use the join button to become a member of this community. It is a way to ensure that this message of rebellion and truth continues to reach those who are still trapped in the dark. Your super thanks are like fuel for this fire of awareness. And don't forget to look into our ebooks, where these themes are explored with even more depth. Every time you share this video, you are helping to tear down another brick of that wall. Mother Teresa used to say that she was the pencil in God's hand. But who is this God? The God of the Vatican? The God who burned scientists at the stake? The God who supported the Crusades? If she was a pencil, she was writing a story of eternal servitude. She was writing a story where the poor stay poor, so the rich can stay rich, and the saints can stay holy. I tell you, the real God is not in some heaven. The real God is your own consciousness. And that consciousness does not want you to suffer. It wants you to dance, to love, to celebrate. Suffering is a disease of the soul, and anyone who glorifies it is a merchant of death. Mother Teresa was a merchant of death who sold the idea that a holy death is better than a joyous life. She was more interested in the last rites than in the right to live with quality. Think about the sheer amount of money she collected. It is estimated to be in the hundreds of millions. Where did it go? It didn't go into the pockets of the poor in Calcutta. It went into the central accounts of the Vatican. It went to fund the propagation of the Catholic dogma. It went to build more churches, to train more priests, to create more Mother Teresas. It was an investment in the growth of a corporation. This is why I call her a religious merchant. She was selling a product. The sensation of doing good, and the world bought it because it was cheaper than actually changing the world. To change the world, you have to change the human mind. You have to remove the greed, the fear, and the stupidity. But the saints feed on stupidity. They thrive on fear. If people were intelligent, they would see that poverty is not a mystery of God, it is a crime of man. They would see that we have enough resources to make this earth a paradise. But a paradise has no room for priests. In a paradise, everyone is a god. So who would go to a church? Mother Teresa once told a story about a man she found in the gutter, half eaten by worms. She said that as he was dying, he looked at her and said, "I have lived like an animal in the street, but I am dying like an angel, loved and cared for." She told this story with great pride. But I ask you, why was he allowed to live like an animal for 70 years? Where was the love and care then? And what kind of angelic death is it to die on a mat in a crowded, dirty room? This is just poetic nonsense used to hide a grim reality. It is a way of making the person who is dying feel grateful for the very system that destroyed him. Don't be fooled by the poetry. Look at the prose of life. The prose is hard, it is real, and it is often ugly. But only when you face the ugliness can you transform it. If you keep painting the ugliness with divine colors, it will only spread. This is what the world has been doing for 5,000 years. And this is why, despite all the thousands of saints, the world is still in such a mess. The saints haven't helped, they have been part of the problem. They have been the anesthesia that allows the surgery of exploitation to continue. I am not here to give you anesthesia. I am here to wake you up during the surgery. It will be painful, yes. It will be shocking, but it is the only way to save your soul from the mafia. Take a breath. Feel your own presence. You are here now, and you have the power to see. Don't let anyone take that power from you. Not a politician, and certainly not a saint. If you feel the power of this message, leave a comment below. Let me know what you think. Let's engage in a dialogue that shatters the old ways of thinking. Like the video, subscribe, and share. And if you have the means, use the join button or super thanks to support this movement. Your support is what allows us to keep the light burning in a world that is obsessed with darkness. We will keep moving forward. We will keep peeling the onion, and soon we will reach the core where there is nothing but pure, unadulterated silence, the silence of the truth. And what about the nobility of poverty? This is another great lie that Mother Teresa and her kind have propagated. They say that blessed are the poor, for they shall inherit the earth. But have you seen the poor? There is nothing blessed about them. They are hungry, they are sick, they are humiliated. Poverty is not a virtue, it is a crime against humanity. To call it blessed is a way to ensure that the poor never try to become rich. It is a way to keep them in their place. If poverty is so blessed, why don't the priests and the popes choose to be poor? Why does the Pope live in a palace surrounded by gold and art? Why did Mother Teresa travel the world in private jets provided by dictators and crooks? She was a friend of the Duvaliers in Haiti, one of the most brutal regimes in history. She went there and told the people that they should be grateful for their wonderful relationship with their leaders. This is sanctity? This is a political alliance disguised as mission work. She was serving the rich by keeping the poor quiet, and she was serving the Vatican by bringing in the numbers. It was a perfect arrangement. The rich gave her money to ease their guilt. The dictators gave her medals to improve their image. And the Vatican gave her a saint title to increase their influence. Everyone won except the poor. The poor remained in the gutter, still half eaten by worms. But now they were told that their suffering was holy. I tell you, there is nothing holy about a hungry stomach. There is nothing divine about a diseased body. Holiness is only found in a state of overflowing health, joy, and consciousness. If you are hungry, you cannot meditate. If you are sick, you cannot celebrate. The first step toward a spiritual life is to fulfill the basic needs of the body. But the saints want you to ignore the body. They want you to believe that the more you neglect the body, the more you nourish the soul. This is a fundamental misunderstanding. The body is the temple of the soul. If the temple is in ruins, how can the deity within be happy? This is why my approach is Zorba the Buddha. You have to be a Zorba first, solidly on the ground, enjoying the earth, enjoying the food, the wine, the dance, and then out of that richness, you can become a Buddha. You can reach for the stars. But a man who is starving cannot be a Buddha. He can only be a victim. Mother Teresa was a creator of victims. She didn't want Buddhas, she wanted Christians. And to be a Christian in her sense, you had to be a sinner who is saved by the church. It is a very clever psychology. If I tell you that you are already divine, you don't need me. But if I tell you that you are a sinner, and that only through my charity can you find God, then I have power over you. Mother Teresa's power was based on the degradation of humanity. She needed you to be small so she could be great. I want you to be great. I want you to be so great that you don't need any master, any saint, any savior. I want you to find the Savior within yourself. That is the only true salvation. But to find it, you have to drop the Mother Teresa within you. The part of you that feels guilty for being happy. The part of you that thinks suffering is noble. The part of you that wants to be good in the eyes of others. Look at your own life. How many times have you suppressed your joy because you thought it was selfish? How many times have you stayed in a miserable situation because you thought it was holy to endure? This is the poison that the priests have put into your soul. They have made you afraid of your own happiness. They have made you suspicious of your own pleasure. I tell you, pleasure is the beginning of prayer. If you cannot be happy in this world, you will never be happy in any other world. This world is the only reality we have. This moment is the only time we have. Don't waste it waiting for a heavenly reward that will never come. The reward is here and now, in your awareness, in your love, in your laughter. If you are beginning to feel the weight of these lies lifting from your shoulders, then let's continue this journey together. Your presence here is not an accident. You are here because you are ready to hear the truth. Support this work by hitting the join button and becoming a part of our global family. Your super thanks and your interest in our ebooks help us remain a voice of independent consciousness in a world of programmed noise. Subscribe and share this video. Let's make sure that the mafia of the soul no longer has a monopoly on the truth. Mother Teresa was once asked how she could help so many people. She said, "I don't help people, I serve Jesus in them." Think about that. She wasn't seeing the human being, she was seeing a ghost. She was seeing her own projection. If you are hungry and I give you food because I see Jesus in you, I am not really seeing you. I am using you as a tool for my own religious practice. You are just a means to an end. This is the ultimate unlove. True love sees the person, the individual, in all their uniqueness. True love doesn't need a Jesus or a God as an excuse to be kind. But for Mother Teresa, the individual was irrelevant. Only the faith matters. Only the expansion of the Catholic Church matters. She was a foot soldier for the Vatican, dressed in the robes of a saint, and she did her job very well. She convinced the world that the most regressive, anti-science, anti-life organization on earth, the Catholic Church, is actually a fountain of compassion. It was a miracle of public relations. I am here to perform a different kind of miracle. I am here to help you see through the PR. I am here to help you see the saint as a politician and the politician as a priest. They are all the same. They are all after your soul. They want to own you. I want to set you free, even from me. I don't want you to follow me. I want you to follow your own light. As we move to the next part, stay centered. Don't let the mind start making excuses for the saints. The mind is a coward. It wants to believe in the goodness of the world because the truth is too demanding. But you are not a coward. You are a seeker. And a seeker is willing to walk alone if that is what the truth requires. Let us look at the concept of service that Mother Teresa talked about so much. Service to humanity is service to God, she said. It sounds beautiful, doesn't it? It is one of those phrases that people repeat without ever thinking about what it actually means. In reality, it is a way to bypass the human being. If you are serving God, you are not really interested in the person in front of you. You are interested in your own spiritual account. You are doing a good deed to get a better seat in heaven. This is why her clinics were so poorly equipped. If the goal was to serve God through the suffering of the poor, then there was no need for medicine. Medicine would actually interfere with the holy suffering. There are reports from doctors who visited her homes and were shocked to find that needles were being reused, that there was no distinction between patients with contagious diseases and those with simple injuries, and that the nurses, who were actually nuns with no medical training, were told that God will provide. This is not service, this is criminal negligence. But because it was done by a saint, it was called faith. If you or I did this, we would be charged with murder. But the mafia of the soul has its own laws. They are above the law of the land because they claim to follow the law of God. And the law of God, as interpreted by the Vatican, has always been about power, not about people. The world is full of these do-gooders, and they are the most dangerous people because they are convinced of their own righteousness. A man who knows he is a sinner is humble, but a man who thinks he is a saint is arrogant, even if he hides it behind a humble mask. Mother Teresa's humility was her greatest weapon. She would say, I am nothing. I am just a small instrument. While at the same time meeting with presidents and kings and telling them how to run their countries according to Catholic dogma. She was a power broker of the highest order. I want you to understand that true service is not a duty, it is a joy. It is an overflow of your own well-being. When you are happy, you naturally want to share your happiness. You don't call it service, you don't call it charity, you just share it like a light shares its radiance. There is no other to be served. There is only the one life that we all share. But to reach that state of sharing, you have to first become an individual. You have to step out of the crowd. The crowd loves Mother Teresa because she represents the collective ego. She represents the idea that we can be good without being conscious. But I tell you, goodness without consciousness is a lie. It is just a social mask. If you feel that your mask is starting to slip, don't be afraid. It is a good sign. It means the real you is starting to breathe. If you want to support this process of unmasking, please engage with us. Use the join button to support this channel. Your super thanks are a way of saying yes to the truth. Explore our ebooks to find the tools for your own transformation. And please share this video. The more people who wake up to the saintly deception, the less power the mafia will have. Think about the children that Mother Teresa's organization saved and then put up for adoption. There have been many scandals involving the sale of these children, the forced separation of mothers from their babies, and the refusal to allow these children to be adopted by anyone who was not a proper Catholic. Is this compassion? Or is this human trafficking in the name of God? When you look at the facts, the saintly aura begins to fade very quickly. She was also a staunch supporter of the most regressive views on women. For her, a woman's only role was to be a mother or a nun. She was against any form of women's liberation. Why? Because a liberated woman is an independent woman. And an independent woman doesn't need the church. The church needs women to be submissive and fruitful so that the population of souls keeps growing. Mother Teresa was the primary enforcer of this patriarchal agenda, and yet the feminists of the West often lauded her. Why? Because they were blinded by the image. They saw a strong woman doing good work, and they didn't look at what that work actually was. This is the power of the saintly mask. It can hide the most reactionary ideas behind a veil of mercy. I am here to tear that veil I am here to tell you that a woman is not a machine for producing souls for the Vatican. A woman is an individual with the same potential for enlightenment as any man. But to reach that enlightenment, she has to drop the Mother Teresa idea. She has to stop sacrificing herself for others and start finding herself. Sacrifice is one of the most ugly words in the human language. It implies that you are giving up something valuable for something higher. But what is higher than your own life? What is higher than your own joy? The priests love sacrifice because it makes you miserable. And a miserable person is a customer for the church. I don't want you to sacrifice anything. I want you to rejoice. I want you to live so totally that there is no room for sacrifice. If you love someone, you don't sacrifice for them. You share with them. It is a joy to give. If it is a sacrifice, then there is no love in it. There is only ego. Mother Teresa's life was a life of sacrifice, and that is why it was so barren. There was no music in it, no dance, no poetry. It was just a long, grim service to a dead God. And she wanted to drag the whole world into that same grimness. She wanted everyone to feel that life is a burden to be carried with faith. I tell you, life is not a burden. Life is a gift. Life is a song. But to hear the song, you have to stop listening to the saints. You have to start listening to your own heart. As we continue this exploration, don't let your mind pull you back into the safe world of traditional beliefs. There is no safety there. There is only stagnation. True safety is found only in the truth, no matter how much it hurts. Leave a comment below. Tell me, have you ever felt that service was a burden? Have you ever felt that charity was a way to make yourself feel superior? Let's talk about it. Like, subscribe and share. And if you can, use the join button or super thanks to keep this light shining. Your support is the only thing that keeps us independent from the mafia of the soul. The Nobel Prize. Have you ever wondered what this prize really represents? It was established by Alfred Nobel, the man who invented dynamite, the man who made a fortune out of destruction. The prize itself is rooted in guilt, a way to wash the blood from the hands of the inventor of explosives. And it is perfectly fitting that Mother Teresa received it. It was one guilt-ridden entity honoring another. The world of the establishment loves to honor those who help them maintain their grip on your soul. When she received that prize in Oslo, she said she accepted it in the name of the poor. But did the poor get the money? No. The money went to the church. The poor only got more saintly words. This is the cycle of the mafia of the soul. The politician creates the war. The scientist creates the dynamite. The rich create the poverty. And then the saint comes to collect the prize for managing the misery. It is a closed circle, and you are outside of it, looking in with awe, thinking how noble. I tell you, there is nothing noble about it. It is a mutual admiration society for those who have betrayed humanity. If you are beginning to see the patterns of this global deception, then you are starting to use your own intelligence. And that is the most dangerous thing you can do. Dangerous for the priests and the politicians. I want you to keep sharpening that intelligence. If you feel that this message is a breath of fresh air in a room full of incense and stale dogmas, please hit the like button. Your engagement tells the algorithms of this world that the truth still has a voice. Subscribe to this channel and share this video. Let's make this rebellion go viral. And if you want to be a pillar for this work, use the join button or offer a super thanks. We also have ebooks available that will help you deconstruct the lies you have been told since birth. Every bit of support helps us reach more people who are drowning in the holy lies. Think about Mother Teresa's response to the question of abortion. She called it the greatest destroyer of peace. Think about the audacity of that statement. The greatest destroyer of peace is not the nuclear bomb, not the greed of corporations, not the hunger of millions. No, for her, it was a woman's right to choose what happens to her own body. Why? Because the Vatican needs more souls. They need more people to fill the pews, more people to pay the tithes, more people to be poor so that they can continue their charity business. If you prevent birth control, you are creating poverty. It is a simple mathematical fact. If the earth can support 4 billion people and you insist on having 12 billion, 8 billion will be in misery. And Mother Teresa was there, standing in the way of the only solution to poverty, science and birth control. She was not a friend of the poor. She was the greatest manufacturer of poverty. By fighting birth control, she ensured a steady supply of orphans for her homes and a steady supply of sinners for her church. This is why the politicians loved her. She was doing their work. She was keeping the population growing and keeping the people distracted with heavenly rewards. A politician wants a large, unthinking, miserable population, because such a population is easy to manipulate. A conscious, small, affluent population would never tolerate a politician for a single day. They would see through the lies immediately. They would see that the politician is a parasite. But Mother Teresa provided the spiritual justification for the parasite. She made the people feel that their struggle was a test from God. She made them feel that if they suffered patiently, they would be rewarded in the afterlife. I tell you, there is no afterlife. This life is all there is. And if you miss this life, you have missed everything. The afterlife is just a carrot dangled in front of the donkey to keep him pulling the cart. And Mother Teresa was the one holding the carrot. I want you to drop the cart. I want you to eat the carrot now. Don't wait for a God to give it to you. You are the master of your own destiny. But the mafia of the soul cannot allow that. They want you to be a beggar, always asking for mercy, always asking for charity. They want you to feel that without them you are lost. My beloved, you are not lost. You have just been told a very long and very elaborate lie. You are a seed that has the potential to become a giant tree. But the priests have covered you in concrete. They call this concrete morality, religion, and tradition. I am here to crack that concrete. I am here to help you burst through. It might be painful to break the cell, but it is the only way to reach the sun. As you sit there listening to me, feel the resonance of these words. Don't just analyze them with the mind. Feel them in your gut. Your gut knows the truth. The mind has been conditioned, but the gut is still wild, still natural. If your gut is saying yes, then you are ready to move beyond the saintly illusions. Leave a comment below. Tell me, when did you first realize that organized religion was more about control than about truth? Let's share our stories of awakening. And remember, you can be a part of this awakening by supporting the channel. Click the join button to see our membership levels, or use super thanks to show your appreciation for these discourses. Our ebooks are also a wonderful resource for those who want to dive deeper into the Osho vision. Let's continue, for there is much more to uncover about the holy mafia. Let us talk about the miracles. Every saint needs a miracle to be canonized by the Vatican. It's a requirement of the firm. For Mother Teresa, they found a woman who claimed that a picture of the saint cured her of a tumor. Later, the woman's own doctors and her husband said it wasn't a miracle, it was medical treatment. But the Vatican ignored the doctors. They needed the miracle. They needed the product to be finalized. This is how saints are manufactured. It is a corporate process. They need a brand. They need a logo, the white and blue sari, and they need a success story, which they call a miracle. It is all a show. It is theater. And the audience is the billions of people who are so desperate for hope that they will believe anything. I don't give you hope. Hope is a drug. Hope is what keeps you in the future, so that you never live in the present. I give you hopelessness. Because once you are truly hopeless, you have to face reality. And in that facing, there is a tremendous explosion of energy. When you realize that no saint is going to save you, that no miracle is going to change your life, you finally take charge. You finally stand on your own 2 feet. Mother Teresa was selling hope to the hopeless. She was telling them that their poverty is beautiful. I want to ask her, if poverty is so beautiful, why was she taking millions from the rich? Why was she building more and more institutions instead of living in the gutter herself without any resources? She lived a very comfortable life. She had the best medical care when she needed it. When she was sick, she didn't go to her own home for the dying in Calcutta. She went to the most expensive hospitals in the West. This is the hypocrisy that people refuse to see. They are so blinded by the aura of sanctity that they don't see the contradictions. They don't see that she was living one way and preaching another. She preached simplicity, but she was the head of a multi-million-dollar global corporation. She preached humility, but she stood on the world stage and told everyone how to live their lives. I am not a saint. I am a simple man. I don't preach poverty. I love beauty. I love luxury. I love the best that life has to offer. And I want the same for you. I want every human being to be a king or a queen. I want the world to be so rich that charity becomes an obsolete word. But to create that world, we have to stop worshipping the saints of poverty. We have to start worshipping the intelligence of science and the silence of meditation. Science can solve the problems of the body. Meditation can solve the problems of the soul. There is no need for a priest in between. The priest is just a middleman who takes a cut of your soul and gives you nothing in return but empty promises. Mother Teresa was the most successful middleman of the 20th century. She managed to sell the suffering of the poor back to the poor as a spiritual path. It's brilliant in a dark way. It's like a thief who steals your coat and then tells you that shivering is good for your character. If you are tired of shivering, then come closer to the fire. This fire of awareness will burn away all the holy garbage you've been carrying. It will leave you clean, fresh, and alive. If you are feeling that freshness, please share this video. The mafia of the soul hates light. They only function in the shadows of belief. By sharing this, you are bringing light into the dark corners of the world. And don't forget to interact with us. Your likes and comments are the way we build this community of rebels. If you want to support us more tangibly, use the join button or super thanks. Every dollar, every euro, every rupee helps us keep this message independent. Check out our ebooks as well. They are the manuals for the revolution of the soul. Let's look at another aspect of this saintly deception: the glorification of motherhood. Mother Teresa was called mother, but she never knew the joy or the pain of being a biological mother. She was a mother to a system. She used the word mother to trigger a deep emotional response in people. Everyone loves their mother. So if you call someone mother, you immediately bypass their critical thinking. You create a childlike dependence. This is what the church wants. They want you to be children of God, and children are easy to lead. Children don't ask difficult questions. Children believe in fairy tales. I want you to grow up. I want you to be adults, spiritually mature individuals who don't need a mother or a father in the sky. I want you to be responsible for your own life. Mother Teresa's motherhood was a trap. It was a way to keep people in a state of perpetual infancy. She would care for you as long as you remained a child of the church. But the moment you tried to think for yourself, the moment you tried to be an individual, that motherly love would turn into holy condemnation. This is not love. Love is that which gives you freedom. Love is that which helps you grow. Anything that keeps you dependent is not love, it is possession. The mafia of the soul possesses you. They own your birth, they own your marriage, and they own your death. And through figures like Mother Teresa, they make this ownership look like compassion. I want you to reclaim your life. I want you to own yourself. And the first step to owning yourself is to see through the saints. Stay with me as we continue. The onion has many more layers. The truth is waiting at the center, and it is more beautiful than any miracle the Vatican could ever invent. My beloved, let us consider the relationship between the saint and the dictator. Mother Teresa was a frequent guest of some of the most oppressive regimes on the planet. She visited the Duvalier family in Haiti, dictators who exploited and murdered their own people. She accepted awards from them. She told the people of Haiti that the Duvaliers loved them. Can you imagine? A saint providing cover for a mass murderer. Why did she do it? Because the Duvaliers were Catholic, because they supported the church. For Mother Teresa, it didn't matter how many people a dictator killed, as long as he was pro-life in the sense of being against abortion and birth control. This is the morality of the mafia. Loyalty to the organization is the only virtue. Everything else is negotiable. This is why I say she was a politician. She knew how to play the game of power. She knew that by blessing the dictators, she would get more freedom for her mission. She would get more souls for the Vatican. The suffering of the actual people in Haiti was secondary to the expansion of the faith. This is the cold, hard reality behind the merciful mask. And the world watched and did nothing. The media portrayed it as working with everyone for the sake of the poor. No, it was validating tyrants for the sake of the church. If you give a holy seal of approval to a murderer, you are an accomplice. But because she was Mother Teresa, she was above criticism. I am not above criticism. I invite it. I want you to question everything I say. Don't believe me because I have a long beard or because I speak beautifully. Believe me only if your own intelligence says yes. I am not here to create a new faith. I am here to destroy all faiths so that the truth can finally be seen. Faith is a blindfold. Truth is an open eye. If you are opening your eyes even a little bit, then I am happy. Support this opening by becoming a member of our community. Use the join button on your screen. It's a way to stand with those who are tired of the holy lies. Your super thanks are a direct contribution to the freedom of the human spirit, and our ebooks are there to guide you through the process of unlearning. The more you unlearn, the more you will know. Think about the missionaries of charity. The very name is a contradiction. If you are a missionary, you are there to convert. If you are there for charity, you are there to help. But when you combine the two, the charity becomes a bait for the conversion. It is a business tactic. You give a hungry man a bowl of soup, and while he is eating, you tell him about Jesus the Savior. You take advantage of his hunger to sell him your ideology. This is the most disgusting form of exploitation. It is spiritual rape. True compassion has no agenda. If you see a hungry man, you feed him because you have food and he is hungry. Period. You don't ask for his soul in exchange. You don't ask him to join your club. But Mother Teresa's entire organization was built on this exchange. The charity was just the hook, the goal was the soul. And why do they want souls? Because souls are power. In the political world, it's called votes. In the religious world, it's called believers. The more believers you have, the more influence you have over the world's governments. The Vatican is the only religion that is also a state. It has its own diplomats, its own bank, its own laws. It is a political entity masquerading as a spiritual one. And Mother Teresa was its most effective ambassador at large. She traveled the world not as a seeker of truth, but as a promoter of a brand. And she did it with such skill that even the atheists and the secularists were fooled. They thought, well, we don't like the Pope, but we love Mother Teresa. They didn't realize that Mother Teresa was the Pope's most powerful weapon. She was the one who made the Pope's regressive policies look humane. I tell you, there is nothing humane about the mafia of the soul. They have been the cause of more wars, more inquisitions, and more suffering than any other force in history. And they are still at it. They just have better PR now. They have saints like Mother Teresa to distract you while they continue to manipulate the world's politics and wealth. I want you to be free of all this. I want you to be a Zorba the Buddha, someone who is deeply rooted in the earth, but whose head is in the stars. Someone who enjoys the material world and the spiritual world simultaneously. There is no conflict between the two. The conflict is only in the minds of the priests. Because if you are happy and fulfilled, you have no need for their charity. If you are feeling the joy of this liberation, then please share it. Let this video be a spark that starts a fire in the hearts of others. Like, comment, and subscribe. Use the join button or super thanks to support our mission of unconversion, turning believers back into human beings. And check out our ebooks for more guidance on this path of rebellion. We are just beginning. The truth is much more radical than you can imagine. It is not just about exposing saints. It is about discovering your own inner godliness, which has been buried under centuries of holy dust. Let's keep cleaning. Let us look at the suffering once more. Mother Teresa said, "The world is being much helped by the suffering of the poor people." This is a direct quote. Can you feel the insanity of it? She believed that the poor are helping the world by their misery. How? By giving the saints a chance to practice charity. In other words, the poor are a spiritual resource to be exploited for the growth of the rich and the holiness of the priests. This is the ultimate form of cannibalism. You are eating the lives of the poor to feed your own ego. You are using their pain as a ladder to reach your heaven. If I were God and someone came to me and said, "I am holy because I helped a man who was suffering," I would ask, "And what did you do to stop the suffering?" If the answer is nothing, because his suffering was a gift from you, then that person belongs in a madhouse, not a heaven. But this is the core of Catholic theology. The cross is a symbol of torture, and they have made it a symbol of love. They have turned a murder into a sacrifice. And through figures like Mother Teresa, they have tried to make the whole world a way of the cross. They want you to carry your cross with a smile. I say, drop the cross. Why carry it? Life is meant to be lived with open arms, not with a heavy piece of wood on your back. The mafia of the soul wants you burdened. They want you tired, because a tired man doesn't rebel. A tired man just wants a place to rest, and the church provides that rest, the rest of the grave, the rest of the unconscious mind. I want you to be restless. I want you to be so alive and so full of energy that you can't help but dance. I want your energy to overflow in creativity, in love, in laughter. Mother Teresa never laughed. Her face was a map of holy misery, and that is what the world calls serenity. I call it rigor mortis. Serenity is not the absence of life. It is the presence of a deep, vibrating peace that comes from knowing who you are. And when you know who you are, you see the absurdity of the saintly path. You see that the saint is just a person who is afraid of life. Are you afraid of life? If you are, then Mother Teresa is your icon. But if you love life, then you have to look elsewhere. You have to look within. You have to find your own source of joy. And that source is not dependent on charity or good works. It is your very nature. If you are finding your own source, please engage with us. Your likes and shares are the way we bypass the priests of the media and reach the people directly. Subscribe and join our community. Use the join button to become a supporter of this work. Your super thanks are a way to show that you value this rebellion of the soul. And our ebooks are available for those who want to study the map of the inner world. Every bit of your support helps us stay outside the system so we can keep speaking the truth to it. Think about the home for the dying again. People were brought there to die in the faith. Often they were baptized without their consent as they were drifting into unconsciousness. Is this mercy? No, it is soul snatching. It is a way to win a soul for the church at the last moment when the person is too weak to resist. It is a cowardly act. It is the act of a predator. Mother Teresa was a predator of the dying. She waited for the moment of maximum vulnerability to impose her truth. I do the opposite. I want to talk to you while you are alive, while you are strong, while you are intelligent. I want to challenge you while you can still fight back, because only a yes that comes from a strong no has any value. A yes that is forced out of a dying man is meaningless. But the church loves these meaningless yeses. They build their statistics on them. They say, look, we have billions of believers. But if you look closely, most of those believers were either born into it, bought into it with charity, or scared into it on their deathbeds. There are very few conscious believers because consciousness and belief are mutually exclusive. Once you are conscious, you don't need to believe. You know. I want you to know. I want you to know the beauty of your own being. I want you to know the vastness of the universe. I want you to know that you are a part of this eternal dance. And in that knowing, all the saints and priests will simply vanish like shadows when the sun comes up. Mother Teresa was a very large shadow. She cast a darkness over the world's understanding of compassion. She made people think that compassion is sadness. I tell you, compassion is celebration. It is the celebration of life in all its forms. It is the desire to see everyone reach their full potential. And that potential is not to be a servant of God, but to be a master of oneself. As we move forward, don't let the shadow fall back over you. Keep your eyes on the light of your own awareness. Leave a comment below. Have you ever felt that religion was trying to steal your soul while you were vulnerable. Let's discuss these predatory tactics. Like, share, and subscribe. And if you want to support this flame of truth, use the join button or super thanks. We are building a new humanity, and every one of you is a vital part of it. My beloved, let us look at the Vatican's inner workings. It is an all-male club, a patriarchal fortress that has excluded women for centuries. For 2000 years, the Catholic Church has treated women as second-class citizens, as the source of sin, as the descendants of Eve who led Adam astray. But even the most rigid patriarchy knows that it needs a motherly face to soften its image. They needed a woman who would represent the church's gentle side without ever challenging the male authority. Mother Teresa was the perfect candidate for this role. She was the ideal woman from the Vatican's perspective, asexual, submissive, and completely obedient to the hierarchy. She never asked for the priesthood for women. She never challenged the male monopoly on the divine. She simply did what she was told, and she did it with a holy smile. This is why she was elevated so quickly. She was a PR miracle for a church that was being criticized for its misogyny and its outdated views. By putting Mother Teresa on a pedestal, the Vatican could say, "See, we love women. Look at this saintly mother we have created." But it was a hollow gesture. She was not a leader, she was a servant of the male power structure. I want you to be leaders. I want you to be masters of your own destiny, whether you are a man or a woman. In my vision, there is no difference. Consciousness has no gender. But the mafia of the soul needs these gender roles to keep you in conflict. They need the Holy Mother to keep the obedient children in line. I tell you, grow up. Drop the need for a mother or a father in the form of a priest or a saint. Find the nurturing and the strength within your own being. If you are finding the strength to question these ancient structures, then you are doing the real spiritual work. Support this work of deconstruction by clicking the join button and becoming a member of our global family. Your super thanks are a vital contribution that allows us to keep broadcasting the truth without any censorship from the mafia. And our ebooks are there to help you navigate the journey from being a child of the church to being a sovereign individual. Subscribe, like, and share. Every click is a hammer blow against the walls of the old prison. Think about the poverty Mother Teresa glorified. She often said, The poor are very great people. They can teach us many things. What can they teach us? How to be hungry? How to be sick? How to be humiliated? This is a romanticization of misery. It is a way to make the poor feel that their condition is a vocation. I tell you, poverty is a disease. It is a social cancer. And the only thing we should learn from it is how to eradicate it. But the saints don't want to eradicate it. If poverty is gone, their service is gone. If the poor are empowered, they won't need the church's charity. Mother Teresa was a poverty monger. She sold the image of the poor to the rich to collect money. And she sold the image of a holy death to the poor to keep them from rebelling. It was a perfect business cycle. The rich get to feel good, the church gets the money, the saint gets the fame, and the poor get to die with dignity on a cold floor. This is the mafia at its most efficient. I want you to be rich. I want you to be rich in every sense, rich in spirit, rich in intelligence, rich in love, and yes, rich in material comfort. There is no contradiction between wealth and spirituality. In fact, a wealthy person has more opportunity to explore the inner world because their outer needs are met. The saints want you to be poor because a poor man is a desperate man, and a desperate man is easily controlled. Don't let them control you through the glorification of suffering. Suffering is not a gift. It is an indication that something is wrong. If your body is in pain, it's a signal to fix it. If your soul is in pain, it's a signal to wake up. Mother Teresa wanted you to stay in pain and call it Jesus. I want you to use the pain as a catalyst for transformation. I want you to move from the darkness of suffering into the light of awareness. As we move to the next part, keep this fire of rebellion burning in your heart. Don't let the saintly voices put you back to sleep. Leave a comment below. Have you ever been told that your suffering was good for your soul? How did that make you feel? Let's expose these holy lies together. Share this video, subscribe, and hit the bell. And if you can, use the join button or super thanks to support the revolution of consciousness. My beloved, let us look at the Keiting scandal. This is a piece of history that the Vatican would like you to forget. Charles Keiting was a fundamentalist Catholic and one of the greatest fraudsters in American history. He stole billions of dollars from small investors through a massive savings and loan scam. And do you know who one of his greatest supporters was? Mother Teresa. Keiting gave Mother Teresa over $1 million in quote charity. He also gave her his private jet to fly around the world. In return, when Keiting was finally caught and put on trial, Mother Teresa wrote a letter to the judge. She didn't write a letter for the thousands of people who lost their life savings. She wrote a letter for the thief. She told the judge that Keiting was a quote good man because he had been kind to the poor, meaning he had given money to her. She even asked the judge to be kind to him because he shared what he had. But what he shared was stolen money. When the prosecutor wrote back to Mother Teresa explaining that the money she received was stolen from hard-working people and asking her to return it, do you know what she did? She did nothing. She never returned a single penny. She never replied to the letter. This is the morality of a saint. If you give money to the church, you are a good man. No matter how many people you have robbed, the money purifies the crime. This is the same logic as the medieval indulgences, where you could buy your way out of hell by giving gold to the Pope. Mother Teresa was just a modern practitioner of this ancient corruption. She was a moral laundromat for the rich and the criminal. I want you to see the ugliness of this. This is not compassion. This is a business arrangement. The criminal gets a holy endorsement, and the saint gets the funds to expand her empire. And the people who were robbed, they were ignored. They weren't part of the mission. This is the mafia of the soul protecting its financiers. If you are tired of this holy hypocrisy, then you are ready to walk the path of the truth. Support our independence by using the join button. Your membership is what allows us to speak these truths that the mainstream media is too afraid to touch. Your super thanks are a direct investment in a future without saintly frauds. And our ebooks provide the intellectual and spiritual ammunition you need to fight back against the mafia. Subscribe and share this video. Let the world know about the Keiting letter and the true face of charity. Mother Teresa once said, I am not a social worker. I do it for Christ. This was her excuse for the lack of medical care in her homes. If she were a social worker, she would be held to professional standards. She would have to provide clean needles, proper diagnosis, and effective medicine. But because she did it for Christ, she was exempt from all standards. She could let people die in filth and call it spiritual service. I tell you, any Christ that requires people to die in filth is a demon. Any God that is pleased by the suffering of the poor is a monster. But the real God, which is the energy of existence, is not interested in your suffering. Existence is a celebration. Look at the flowers, look at the stars, look at the ocean. Is there any suffering there? No. There is only a wild, exuberant joy. Suffering is a human invention created by the mafia to keep you in bondage. Mother Teresa was an expert in the theology of the gutter. She made the gutter look like a temple. I want to take you out of the gutter and into the sunlight. I want you to see that you don't need to be saved by a saint who takes money from thieves. You need to be awakened by your own intelligence. The mafia of the soul has been lying to you for centuries. They have made you feel that you are a sinner who needs mercy. I tell you, you are a masterpiece. You are a unique expression of the divine. You don't need mercy, you need clarity. You need to see through the masks of those who claim to be holy. Stay with me. We are going deeper into the heart of the deception. Leave a comment. Did you know about Mother Teresa's connection to Charles Keiting? How does it change your view of her sainthood? Let's talk about it. Like, subscribe, and share. And if you want to support this work, use the join button or super thanks. We are cleaning the mirror of the soul, and every bit of help is appreciated. My beloved, let us look at the dark night of the soul. After Mother Teresa died, her private letters were published, and they revealed something that shocked the world, though it did not shock me. For the last 50 years of her life, Mother Teresa did not believe in God. She felt no presence, no light, no Jesus in her heart. She wrote that she felt abandoned, that her soul was a cold, dark void. And yet, for those same 50 years, she went around the world telling everyone to have faith. She told the dying to trust in Jesus. She told the poor that their suffering was a gift from God. She was living a total lie. She was a theist on the outside and an atheist on the inside, but an atheist who was too cowardly to admit it. This is the ultimate hypocrisy. To preach what you do not know, to sell a product that you yourself have found to be empty. Why didn't she speak the truth? Why didn't she say, I have prayed for 50 years and I have found nothing? If she had done that, she would have been a real saint. She would have been an honest human being. She would have joined the ranks of the great seekers who had the courage to face the nothingness. But no, the mafia of the soul would not allow that. She was too valuable as a brand. If she admitted her doubts, the whole Vatican PR machine would have crumbled. So she continued to play the role. She continued to wear the mask. She became a prisoner of her own image. This is the tragedy of the saints. They are the most enslaved people on earth because they cannot even be honest with themselves. I tell you, doubt is not a sin. Doubt is the beginning of intelligence. Only those who doubt can truly seek. Belief is a way to avoid seeking. If you believe, you have already closed the door to the truth. Mother Teresa's tragedy was that she had the doubt, but she didn't have the courage to follow it. She suppressed it with service and duty. She used the suffering of others to distract herself from the emptiness of her own soul. I want you to have the courage to face the emptiness. Don't be afraid of the void. That void is the beginning of your real being. It is the silence from which all music arises, but you can only find it if you are honest. You can only find it if you drop the faith that you don't actually feel. If you are ready for this kind of radical honesty, then you belong here. Support this channel by clicking the join button. We are a community of those who prefer a cold, dark truth over a warm, fuzzy lie. Your super thanks help us keep this platform available for everyone who is tired of the religious masquerade. And our ebooks are the maps for those who want to journey into the inner void and find the light that is actually there. Not the light of a god, but the light of your own consciousness. Subscribe and share. Let's spread the silence about the unbelieving saint. Mother Teresa's letters are a testament to the failure of organized religion. If a woman who has spent her whole life serving God could not find Him, then what does that say about the path she was on? It says that the path is a dead end. It says that prayer is just a form of self-hypnosis that eventually fails. It says that charity is not a substitute for meditation. I don't ask you to pray. Prayer is a monologue. You are just talking to your own imagination. I ask you to meditate. Meditation is a silence. It is a listening. You don't ask for anything. You just open yourself to what is. And in that opening, you don't find a person called God. You find a quality called godliness. You find a peace that is not dependent on anything outside of you. Mother Teresa was looking for a Jesus outside of her, and she never found him. How could she? Jesus is just a metaphor for your own awakened state. If you are looking for a historical figure to come and hold your hand, you will wait for 50 years or 50 lifetimes, and you will find only a cold, dark void. But if you look into the looker, if you observe the observer, then the void becomes a plenum, it becomes full, it becomes a celebration. The mafia of the soul doesn't want you to meditate, they want you to pray, because prayer keeps you a beggar. Meditation makes you a master. Mother Teresa was a beggar queen, always asking for more money, more souls, more recognition. I want you to be a sovereign of your own inner kingdom. Leave a comment below. Have you ever felt that void that Mother Teresa wrote about? Did religion help you fill it, or did it just make it darker? Let's share our inner journeys. Like, subscribe, and share. And if you want to support this movement of meditation over prayer, use the join button or super thanks. We are building a world where honesty is the only holiness. My beloved, let us look at the global media's role in this saint making. Why was Mother Teresa such a darling of the press? Because she was safe. She never criticized the media moguls. She never criticized the corporations that destroy the environment. She never criticized the war machine. She was the perfect feel-good story. The media could spend 5 minutes showing her cleaning a wound and then 55 minutes showing commercials for the very products that create the poverty she was cleaning. The media is part of the mafia. They are the propaganda wing of the establishment. They need saints to give their viewers a sense of morality and hope so that they don't look too closely at the corruption of the system. Mother Teresa was a willing participant in this game. She loved the cameras. She knew how to pose, how to look frail yet strong, how to speak in sound bites that sounded profound but meant nothing. She was a celebrity, not a sage. A sage is someone who disturbs your sleep. A celebrity is someone who becomes a part of your dreams. Mother Teresa was a global dream. The dream that someone somewhere is doing something about the world's problems so that you don't have to. She was a pacifier for the conscience of humanity. I am not here to pacify you. I am here to disturb you. I am here to wake you up from the Mother Teresa dream. I am here to tell you that no one is doing something for you. You are the only one who can change your life. You are the only one who can change the world. But to do that, you have to stop being a spectator of saints. You have to become a participant in your own evolution. If you are ready to stop being a spectator and start being a rebel, then support this channel. Click the join button to show that you are with me. Your super thanks are a way to bypass the media mafia and support independent consciousness. And our ebooks are there to help you deprogram your mind from the celebrity culture and the holy myths. Subscribe, like, and share. Let's make the truth more famous than the saint. Think about the Nobel Peace Prize ceremony again. There she was, standing next to the kings and queens of Europe. She looked so simple in her cotton sari, but that simplicity was a very expensive costume. It was a costume that cost the world its intelligence. It was a costume that allowed the mafia to continue its business as usual. A truly simple man is someone like Diogenes, who lived in a tub and told Alexander the Great to get out of my sunlight. A truly simple man is someone who has no needs and no mission. Mother Teresa had a very complex mission. She had an organization to run, a hierarchy to satisfy, and a brand to protect. There was nothing simple about her. She was a CEO of a multinational corporation of mercy. And what was the result of her mercy? Did Calcutta become a better place? No. There are more poor people in Calcutta today than when she started. Did the orphans she saved become enlightened individuals? No. They became Catholics. The only thing that grew was the church. The only thing that was saved was the Vatican's reputation. I tell you, real mercy is to give a man his own soul. Real mercy is to help a man stand on his own feet and see the world without any filters. But Mother Teresa was putting more filters on. She was giving people holy spectacles that made the gutter look like a path to heaven. This is not mercy, this is a delusion. I want to take away your spectacles. I want you to see the gutter as a gutter and the saint as a politician. Only then can you begin to clean the gutter. Only then can you begin to build a real human society. But the first step is to see. And seeing requires courage. It requires the courage to be unsaintly. Leave a comment below. Do you think the media still protects saints today? Who are the modern day Mother Teresas who are being used to distract us? Let's identify them. Like, subscribe, and share. And if you want to support this clarity, use the join button or super thanks. We are creating a media of the soul, for the soul, and by the soul. My beloved, let us look at the mafia of the soul in its totality. It is not just about Mother Teresa. She was just one soldier in a vast army. The mafia consists of every priest, every politician, every moral leader who tells you that you are not enough as you are. They are the ones who have created a world of borders, a world of religions, a world of us versus them. Mother Teresa was a master of us versus them. On the surface, she was for everyone, but in reality, she was only for the Catholic way. She was a divider, not a unifier. She wanted the whole world to be one, but one under the Pope. This is not unity, this is uniformity. This is the death of diversity. This is the end of the human spirit. True unity is a multicolored phenomenon. It is a garden with many different flowers. I don't want the world to be one religion. I want the world to be no religion. I want everyone to have their own religiousness, their own direct personal connection to existence. No mediators, no saints, no mothers, just you and the stars, just you and the silence. But the mafia cannot survive in that silence. They need noise, they need dogma, rituals, and charity to keep you distracted. They need you to be a member of something. I want you to be a member of nothing. I want you to be an outsider. Only the outsider is free. Only the outsider can see the truth. If you are an outsider, then you have found your home here. Support this home by clicking the join button. Your contribution is what keeps this island of consciousness afloat in a sea of organized ignorance. Your super thanks are a way to say that you value your freedom more than your faith. And our e-books are the tools you need to build your own inner temple where no priest can ever enter. Subscribe and share. Let's spread the message of the sovereign individual. Mother Teresa's life was a long, organized misery. And she wanted to share that misery with you. She called it compassion. I tell you, keep your compassion. I don't want your pity. I want your joy. I want you to be so full of life that your very presence is a healing. A happy man doesn't need a saint to tell him how to live. A happy man is the way life should be lived. Think about the saints of the past. Most of them were tortured souls. They fasted, they whipped themselves, They lived in caves. They were egomaniacs of the spirit. They wanted to conquer their bodies, conquer their desires, conquer the world. Mother Teresa was a modern version of this. She wanted to conquer poverty with her goodness. But conquest is the language of the politician. The language of the mystic is surrender. Surrender to life. Surrender to the moment. Surrender to your own heartbeat. In that surrender, you will find a wealth that no charity can ever give you. You will find a peace that no Nobel Prize can ever recognize. You will find the divine that Mother Teresa spent 50 years looking for in the dark and never found. She never found it because she was looking for a thing, a person, a god. But the divine is a dance. You can only find it if you join the dance. You can only find it if you drop your saintly robes and become a part of the movement. Mother Teresa was too stiff, too holy, too serious to dance. She was a statue of mercy, and statues don't dance. I want you to be a dancing god. I want you to be a Zorba the Buddha. I want you to be someone who can enjoy the marketplace and the mountaintop simultaneously. This is the new man. This is the only hope for humanity. Not more Mother Teresas, but more conscious, joyous, rebellious individuals. As we conclude this part of our journey, let the truth sink in. Don't be in a hurry to reach a conclusion. Just let the insight sit in your heart. The mafia of the soul is powerful, but it is built on lies, and a single candle of truth is enough to dispel the darkness of 1,000 years of lies. Leave a comment below. Are you ready to drop the saintly ideals and embrace your own inner Zorba? What is holding you back? Let's help each other break the chains. Like, subscribe, and share. And if you feel moved to support this work, use the join button or super thanks. We are the architects of a new world, and we are building it with the bricks of awareness. Stay tuned, for the revolution has just begun. My beloved ones, let us delve even deeper into the black hole of the human ego that calls itself religion. You see, the priest cannot exist without the sinner. If you are not a sinner, the priest is unemployed. He has no purpose, no function, no business. Therefore, his entire education, his entire theology is geared toward one thing: making you feel guilty. And Mother Teresa was the supreme expert in the management of guilt. She was the one who could walk into a room and make even the most successful, intelligent person feel like a small, dirty child in the eyes of an imaginary god. This is the mafia of the soul at its most subtle. They don't use guns, they use goodness. They don't use chains, they use charity. But the result is the same. You are enslaved. You are made to feel that your very existence is a mistake, a sin that needs to be atoned for. And the only way to atone for it is through the church, through the saints, through the service. But I ask you, why should you atone for being alive? Life is a celebration, not a punishment. The only sin is to not live your life to the fullest. The only sin is to be unhappy. But for Mother Teresa, unhappiness was a virtue. She once said that the most beautiful gift for a person is to be able to share in the suffering of Christ. Can you see the insanity of this? To call suffering a gift is to turn the whole world into a torture chamber. It is to say that the more you hurt, the more God loves you. If you are starting to see the absurdity of this holy masochism, then you are beginning to breathe. And I want to help you breathe more deeply. If this message is touching a chord in your heart, please hit the like button and share this video. We are cutting through 5,000 years of conditioning, and every share is a way to help someone else wake up. Subscribe to this channel to stay with me on this journey of deconstruction. And for those of you who feel a deep gratitude for this work, use the join button to support us. Your super thanks are a way to keep this fire of truth burning, independent of any organization. Check out our ebooks as well. They are the blueprints for the new humanity we are creating together. Think about the psychology of the charity that Mother Teresa practiced. It was never about the person being helped. It was always about the soul of the helper. When she collected money from the rich, she was selling them a clear conscience. She was saying, "Give me a portion of your stolen wealth, and I will bless you. I will tell the world you are a philanthropist. I will tell God you are a candidate for heaven." This is a spiritual bribe. It is a way for the exploiter to feel holy without ever stopping the exploitation. And the politician loves this. The politician wants the rich to stay rich and the poor to stay poor, because that is how power is maintained. Mother Teresa provided the spiritual glue that kept this system together. She was the one who told the poor to accept your lot and told the rich to give a little back. In this way, no revolution ever happens. The status quo remains untouched. The mafia remains in charge. I want a revolution, not a political revolution. Those have all failed. I want a revolution of consciousness. I want you to see that you don't need charity, you need justice. You don't need saints, you need intelligence. If the world were governed by intelligence instead of greed and superstition, there would be no poverty. We have the technology to feed, clothe, and house every human being on this planet 10 times over. The only reason we don't is because the mafia of the soul needs the poor. They need the misery to keep their business running. Mother Teresa was the global spokesperson for this misery. She was the one who made the gutter look like a sacred space. But I tell you, there is nothing sacred about a gutter. There is nothing divine about a hungry child. These are crimes. And those who glorify them are the criminals. Do you have the courage to call a saint a criminal? It is not easy. Your mind will resist. Your conditioning will scream blasphemy. But look at the facts. Look at the millions of children who are born into poverty because of the church's stance against birth control. Look at the millions who die of preventable diseases because the money is spent on cathedrals instead of clinics. Is this not a crime? Is this not the work of a mafia? I am here to provoke your intelligence. I am here to make you think. Don't believe me, just look. Look at the world as it is, not as the priests tell you it is. If you look clearly, you will see that Mother Teresa was a very small woman carrying a very large lie. And that lie has poisoned the consciousness of millions. But the poison can be neutralized. The antidote is awareness. When you are aware, you see that you are already divine. You don't need to become holy. You are already the most holy thing in existence. You don't need to earn your way to heaven. You are already in paradise. If only you would open your eyes. The saints want to keep your eyes closed. They want you to live in a dream of sin and salvation. I want to wake you up. I want you to see the sun. I want you to hear the birds. I want you to feel the wind. This is the only reality. All else is just a mafia projection. If you are waking up, stay with me. The journey is long, but every step is a joy. Leave a comment below. How has the guilt of religion affected your own life? Have you ever felt that you were not enough. Let's talk about it. Like, share, and subscribe. And if you want to be a pillar of this work, use the join button or super thanks. We are building a world where the only temple is your own heart. Mother Teresa once said, I have found the paradox that if you love until it hurts, there can be no more hurt, only more love. This sounds very poetic, doesn't it? But it is a trap. Why should love hurt? Love is the most joyous experience in life. If your love hurts, it is not love, it is an ego trip, it is a form of masochism. You are enjoying the hurt because it makes you feel noble. True love is an overflow of joy. It doesn't hurt, it heals. It doesn't take away, it gives. But Mother Teresa was obsessed with hurt, with pain, with suffering. She made these things the center of her life, and she tried to make them the center of yours. I tell you, ignore the hurt. Focus on the joy. The more joyous you are, the more you can truly love. A miserable person cannot love. They can only be charitable. And charity is a poor substitute for love. Charity is a cold, calculated thing. Love is a warm, spontaneous fire. I want you to be on fire. I want you to be so full of passion for life that the saints look like grey shadows in comparison. And they are. They are the shadows of the past. You are the light of the future. As we move forward, don't let the shadows distract you. Keep looking toward the light of your own consciousness. That is where the real mother is, not in a sari, but in the nurturing silence of your own soul. My beloved, let us look at the concept of faith versus doubt one more time. The mafia of the soul tells you that faith is a virtue and doubt is a sin. Why? Because if you have faith, you are under their thumb. If you doubt, you are free. Doubt is the beginning of the end for the priest. The moment you ask why, the priest's power begins to evaporate. Mother Teresa's entire empire was built on blind faith. She demanded it from her nuns. She demanded it from the poor. And she demanded it from the world. She didn't want you to ask why there is poverty. She wanted you to have faith that it is God's will. She didn't want you to ask why her clinics were so dirty. She wanted you to have faith that Jesus was present. But I tell you, doubt everything. Doubt me. Doubt the saints, doubt the holy books. Only that which survives your doubt is the truth. The truth doesn't need your faith. The truth just is. Only a lie needs faith. A lie needs to be propped up by belief, by tradition, by holy authority. The truth can stand on its own. If you are ready to stop believing and start knowing, then you are a true seeker. Support this seeking by clicking the join button. We are a community of doubters, of questioners, of rebels. Your super thanks are a way to keep this space open for everyone who refuses to be sheep. Explore our ebooks. They are the tools for sharpening your doubt into a sword that can cut through any lie. Subscribe and share. Let's make doubt a virtue again. Think about the saintly life of Mother Teresa. It was a life of total suppression. She suppressed her sexuality. She suppressed her intelligence. She suppressed her own doubts for 50 years. And what was the result? A cold, dark void. This is the inevitable result of suppression. If you say no to life, life will eventually say no to you. I want you to say yes. Say yes to your body. Say yes to your desires. Say yes to your intelligence. Don't suppress anything. Transform it. Turn your sexuality into love. Turn your intelligence into awareness. Turn your doubt into a quest for truth. This is the Osho way. It is the way of the whole human being, the Zorba the Buddha. Mother Teresa was only half a person. She was a spirit without a body, a faith without a mind, and that is why she was so miserable. That is why she felt abandoned by God. She wasn't abandoned by God. She had abandoned herself. She had traded her reality for a holy fiction. Don't make that trade. Your reality is the most precious thing you have. Don't sacrifice it for any saint, any religion, or any heaven. Heaven is here if you are real. Hell is also here if you are a saintly lie. Mother Teresa lived in a self-created hell for 50 years, all while the world worshipped her as a saint. What an irony! What a tragedy! I am here to prevent that tragedy from happening to you. I am here to tell you that you are perfect as you are. You don't need to cleanse yourself. You don't need to atone. You just need to be. And in that being, you will find a joy that Mother Teresa never knew. You will find a peace that is not a void, but a fullness, a plenum of light and music. If you are feeling that fullness, then please share this video. The mafia of the soul is losing its grip, but it won't go quietly. They will fight to keep their saints on their pedestals. We must fight back with the only weapon we have, the truth. Like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Let's create a tsunami of awareness that washes away all the holy dust. And remember, your support is vital. Use the join button, super thanks, and check out our ebooks. Every contribution helps us stay independent, so we can keep bringing you the unfiltered words of Osho. We are not just a channel. We are a movement toward a new humanity. A humanity that doesn't need mothers because it has grown up. Look at the missionaries of charity today. They are still operating on the same principles of suppression and exploitation. They are still collecting millions while providing substandard care. They are still soul snatching in the name of Jesus. They are the living legacy of Mother Teresa's deception. I want you to be the living legacy of the truth. I want you to be so conscious that you can see through every charitable mask. I want you to be so full of love that you don't need to do charity. You simply are a blessing to the world. A man who is happy is a blessing. A woman who is joyous is a prayer. You don't need to go to Calcutta. You just need to go into your own heart. As we reach the final parts of this discourse, stay centered. The mafia is old, but the truth is eternal. And the truth is on your side if you have the courage to face it. My beloved, we are coming to the heart of the matter. The mafia of the soul survives because you are afraid of your own power. You have been taught that you are weak, that you are helpless, that you are born in sin. This is the foundation of the priest's power. If you believe you are weak, you will always look for a strong figure to lead you. You will look for a mother to care for you, a saint to intercede for you, a God to save you. Mother Teresa was the personification of this protective authority. She was the great mother who took care of the helpless poor, but her care was a trap. It kept the poor helpless. It never empowered them to change their own lives. It only taught them how to be grateful for their misery. I am here to tell you, you are not weak. You are not helpless. You are the very power of existence itself. You have the capacity to create, to transform, to dance with the stars. But to reclaim that power, you have to drop the dependency on the saints. You have to stand alone. Standing alone is the most beautiful thing in the world. It is the beginning of true freedom. When you stand alone, you are no longer a sheep, you are a lion. And a lion doesn't need a mother to tell him what to do. A lion follows his own nature. If you are ready to be a lion, then you are ready for my message. Support this lion's path by clicking the join button. We are creating a pride of conscious individuals who refuse to be led by the mafia. Your super thanks are a way to support the roar of truth in a world of holy bleating. Explore our ebooks. They are the manuals for finding your own strength, your own light, your own Buddha nature. Subscribe and share. Let's wake up the lions. Mother Teresa once said, "If you judge people, you have no time to love them." This is another clever phrase. It was her way of saying, "Don't criticize me." It was her way of shutting down any investigation into her finances, her medical practices, or her political alliances. She called criticism judgment, and she called blind acceptance love. I tell you, use your judgment. Discrimination is the highest faculty of the human mind. You must judge what is true and what is false. You must judge what is life affirming and what is life negating. If you don't judge, you will be fooled by every saint who comes along with a white sari and a holy smile. Real love is not blind. Real love sees everything. Real love sees the saint as a politician, and it loves them enough to tell them the truth. It was out of love for humanity that I exposed Mother Teresa. I wanted to free you from the enchantment of her image. I wanted to help you see the reality behind the miracle. And the reality is that the miracle was a PR stunt. The reality is that the sanctity was a political tool. The reality is that the charity was a business. Once you see this, the enchantment is broken. You are no longer a victim of the mafia. You are a free individual. Stay free. Don't let the priests of the new age or the saints of the old age pull you back into the flock. Stay on the outside. Stay rebellious. Stay joyous. Leave a comment below. Has blind faith ever led you into a trap? How did you get out? Let's share our stories of liberation. Like, subscribe, and share. And if you want to support this work of unmasking, use the join button or super thanks. We are the detectives of the soul, and we won't stop until the last holy lie is exposed. Mother Teresa's death was celebrated by the world. She was given a state funeral in India. She was canonized as a saint in record time. The mafia wanted to seal her image forever. They wanted to make her untouchable. But they forgot one thing: the truth cannot be buried. It is like a seed. Even if you put a ton of concrete on it, it will eventually find a way to burst through. I am that crack in the concrete. My words are the water that makes the seed grow. And you are the seed. Don't be afraid of the concrete. It is just an illusion. Your reality is much more powerful. You have the potential to grow into a giant tree of consciousness that shelters thousands. As we come to the final part of this long discourse, take a moment to look at your own life. Are you living your own truth? Or are you living someone else's holy dream? If you are living a dream, wake up. If you are living your truth, keep going. The world needs you. Not a saint like Mother Teresa, but a real, authentic, joyous human being like you. I love your joy. I love your laughter. I love your rebellion. Keep it alive. And remember, the mafia of the soul only has power over those who are afraid. Don't be afraid. You are the master. You have always been the master. You just forgot. I'm here to remind you. If you have been touched by these words, please subscribe, like, and share. Your engagement is the only way we bypass the priests of the algorithm. Use the join button and super thanks to keep this flame alive. Check out our ebooks for the next steps on your journey. Be a light unto yourself.